welcome to the first tutorial mini workshop on headstands. I'm going to teach you some prep poses, some modifications, and most importantly, safety procedures to get yourself safely into a headstand. So a couple things. You will always hear many different ways and explanations and tips and techniques on how to get in and out of many poses. So if some of these work for you, amazing. If not, you can continue to kind of shop around for teachers, tutorials that maybe put things in a way that you understand better. So take whatever serves you, leave the rest behind, but most importantly, don't rush into this just to protect the spine, the neck and spine for sure. So a couple things. You want to warm up the core and the shoulders. So some nice poses are going to be downward dog, high plank, and I'll go through these. Down dog, high plank, and dolphin. So dolphin is kind of like the pose that comes, for me, right before you move into a headstand. It kind of sets you up nicely. So if you want to just warm up with me, we're going to find downward dog. And just pedaling out through the backs of the legs. And then once you can still the lower body, bring your awareness to your shoulders, your arms, your core. So the upper body. And then inhale, pulling yourself forward to a high plank. And then just to warm up the shoulder girdle, we are going to kind of drop our chest and then press away. Drop and press. Be sure you're breathing. Good. So just protracting and retracting the shoulders. And then exhaling to find downward dog. And then again, coming forward to your high plank, and then dropping to your forearms, replacing your elbows where your hands just were, and then coming into dolphin. So pretty much downward dog on your forearms. So here you're really getting into the shoulders. Be sure your head's not on the mat. The closer you walk your toes, the higher your hips go, and potentially stacking over the shoulders. So it gets pretty intense. So you can kind of adjust that intensity by walking toes close for more or further away from the body for less. So go ahead and drop your knees, take a child's pose, and a couple breaths for grounding. Inhale. And exhale. One more breath in. And a breath out. And then rolling yourself up just to have a seat. Okay. And I have seen quite a few people attempt a headstand, and you can tell it's super dangerous. So I think the most important part is the weight placement. Even though it's called a headstand, we are doing a supported headstand. So we're either using our hands. Today I'm going to teach you to use our forearms. So your head and both of your forearms are going to be on the mat. The arms are supporting most of your weight, but there still may be some slight weight on the head. We want to be sure that the weight is not too far back on the head, and I find this to be helpful. If you stick your fingers in your ears and then bring your middle fingers to touch on the top of the head. That's a good indication, kind of like a little trick to find where the weight should be placed. And then another option is putting your thumb on your nose and taking your middle finger again to the center of your head. This one might be a little more helpful because it just goes straight back. But I'll demonstrate kind of bad placement and then correct placement so you can kind of tell for yourself what's going on. So right now I'm just going to demonstrate going into a headstand safely. Clasp my hand. Dolphin. Placing my hairline on the mat. So a couple things to take note of. I did not jump, force myself up into a headstand. I walked my toes close to me until they kind of want to float off the mat. So a common mistake is that people want to jump, and then you need to build the core strength in order to go inverted safely. The second thing is a lot of people want to place where the weight needs to be right off the bat. But as I walked my toes closer towards my face, I kind of roll more on the top of my head. So if we start where the weight needs to end up, we're going to end up too far on the back of the head. If we just walk our feet forward, and I'm using this as a rough estimate, but where about my forehead or my hairline is, that first meets the mat, and then as I walk my hips over my shoulders, I roll to the correct area, so it's not too far on the back of my head. So I will go ahead and demonstrate the not so good way to go into a headstand. And another thing I learned from experience, we will clasp our hands. So be super mindful. If you start to notice that your feet are going to go in front of you, so you're going to roll over and kind of catch yourself in a back bend, try to break your hands free of the clasp because you will definitely crunch your fingers and it's painful. So that's just a little side note I learned from experience. So this is what you don't want to do. So we'll clasp our hands, walk our feet up, and then right off the bat, I'm too far on the tip of my head. And then you walk your feet in, you kind of jump up. You see how it can almost collapse and roll. You don't want to swing yourself up. And you just don't want to slam yourself down and come right back up. So hopefully you saw a little bit of a difference there. Okay, so you can definitely grab a wall. If you want to start out with a wall, so your feet, if you happen to carry yourself over, your feet can meet the wall. But I invite you to join me here in a downward dog. And then inhale, pull it forward to a high plank. Exhale, forearm plank. Clasp your hands so the pinky knife edge of the fingers meet the hands. Take note that you are not clasping the full hand together. The palms are staying open and they will cradle the head, the back of the head. Start to walk your toes up. Stay pressed and strong out of the shoulders. Keep walking your toes up until closer to your forehead or the hairline meets the mat.
Then continue walking your toes up, maybe so much that they just want to float off the mat. Pressing down into the forearms, staying with breath, finding your drishti, and then activate the toes, whether they're pointed or flexed. And if you fall over, break your hands free of the clasp. If you came up, maybe your feet are split, something to help you find a little more balance. And then you can tuck one knee into the chest, then the other, and lower down.
For those of you with no practice or very little practice with headstands, I recommend that you come in one leg at a time. So there's many ways to come in, many ways to come out. We'll find our dolphin, dropping the forehead hairline to the mat, walking your toes forward, and maybe you just start taking one foot in and the other foot in. Maybe you bring one foot in and then the other foot in. Maybe for a couple of weeks, months, or years, you just hang out here, and then maybe one foot goes up and maybe the other foot goes up. And then you come down the same way. Relaxing in child's pose, maybe rocking the forehead side to side. And then rolling yourself up and pause. Okay, the second way that you will often see in class to come in to a headstand is from a wide-legged fold. So in a wide-legged fold, we'll be on our hands instead of our forearms. The placement on the head is still the same. The weight distribution between the head and the hands is still the same. So most weight is on the hands. So you will find your head on the mat. You'll come onto your toes and you'll straddle yourself up, staying nice and active, muscles hugging around bone in the legs. Pressing down through the palms. Same way you went up, you come down. Straddling the legs down, using the strength of the core to set the toes down. And then maybe you inhale for a halfway lift. And you exhale, fold. Softening the knees, bringing your hands to the hips. Engage your core, helping yourself up. And then coming to standing. Okay, so this is just a brief tutorial. So if you're playing around with headstands, I hope you got some helpful tips. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Be careful. If you want some padding underneath your head, if you use the wall, just please be careful of the cervical spine. If you have any shoulder and neck injuries already, I recommend do not doing this at all. And please let me know what else you would like to see. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.